We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready.
Hello, everybody. How are you feeling? I need to hear how you're feeling. Put it in the chat. I know you're not exhausted. You should be feeling energized and refreshed by all the discussions that have happened. When you're following passion, you don't feel drained at all. That's not true. Sometimes you do, but times like these are inspiring, and it's a time for refueling, and you get to be in the comfort of your home or in a nice space. So we have to be grateful for that. We're moving right along. I apologize for the delay. We're just going to have a really quick presentation by a young man, Shamir Sadler, who is CEO of Smart Term, which is a learning management software. And I know a number of you are using it, but he wants to share a little bit more about the product. And he will give you just a few minutes, and then we will hand over to the great Mrs. Margaret Campbell. She's like, you're setting me up. But we'll hand over to her for her session and get techie with it. So Shamir, over to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Happy to be here. So today, guys, I want to introduce myself. My name is Shamir Sadler. I came up through the Jamaican school system, like most of us here, Wilmot's Prep Campbell College. And then I went overseas where I pursued a couple different avenues around software. We wanted to give back, so we created a company that focuses on education technology management and helping the Caribbean region as well as Africa and Latin America. So that's where we have presence today, and we continue to help schools, especially during this COVID period. So I'm definitely gonna touch on a couple of things that are affecting us today and how smart term can help our institutions navigate this space. So a couple of things, you know, a lot of the focus have been around teachers going online, right? But why not take your entire school online, right? A lot of emphasis is placed on the tools that the teachers use, like, you'd hear a smart term, you'd hear Google Classroom, you'd probably hear Schoology. There are a couple different tools, but it's really more focused on the teachers getting on there and digitizing their content. All right, but what the gaps that we find in the system there is that we lose accountability. It's super hard for principals or administrators to track on what's going on online when this transition happened. And as we were pursuing that, and as schools were diving into that, you quickly realize that we weren't sure how many users were online daily. We weren't sure how many assessments were actually being done. We weren't sure how we were going to actually provide report cards. These are issues that schools had, right? And one of the biggest things we saw is that the schools that were smart term before COVID, what really happened then is that they were able to transition seamlessly over to a fully online environment where they were able to still do their e-testing, still able to do their exams, and still be able to produce a report card. So that investment early really paid off for some of these schools. And so accountability is key when going online. School culture, right? One of the things our students are now getting is they're learning, they're getting content, at least some of them, right? One of the things we lost there is the social aspects of school. The competitions, right, helped out a lot. It teach them discipline, it teach them teamwork, right? The extracurricular activities, the different clubs. These things are lost when they've gone online. Most of the emphasis have been placed around the actual teaching in the classroom rather than school itself, right? So, our platform facilitates the clubs, it facilitates the extracurricular activity, and it kind of keeps the school culture alive, right? Being on a system that has your logo, has your school colors, it's not generic, right? Being on a platform provider that understands the region and understands what school pride is, it goes a far way. So keeping your school culture while going online is very important. The second thing we wanted to touch on is the virtual classroom. So, having everything in place, teaching online is something that is going to be with us forever now, right? So even if COVID goes away, right, what you'll quickly realize is that we have to track everything virtually, provide opportunities for students to learn in the classroom and when they're at home, right? This cannot change. So there's going to be a forever blended approach going forward. And as we navigate that space, you want a tool that is baked into the same system that you use across the board for your education management needs. And if it's baked in, what you have is that you don't have to teach your teachers multiple platforms. You don't necessarily have to teach your students multiple platforms. You can do everything in one space. And by doing everything in one space, it cuts down on the need for trying to bridge the gap between your systems, right? I'm sure that some schools who are using 3, 4, 5 different platforms are having difficulties trying to get their data into one central place without it being a manual process. And one of the things that Smart Term helps with that is being your engine. We want to be the engine for your school. You can do everything through our platform and integrate the solutions that you want as supplemental into our platform so that you can create your school environment. Everything goes through one engine. Right, communication. You want to be able to quickly blast out information to everybody who's on the platform, whether that's a parent, that's a student, teacher, administrator. You want to be able to quickly communicate between everyone. So through our platform, we have chat, we have push notifications through the mobile application. We have email communication. So you want to make sure that these things are quickly accessible without having to go to another tool. So If not Smart Term, you probably have a mailing list on Gmail or Outlook, or, you know, a WhatsApp group. You know, there's different communication modes, but what you want is an ability to have everything in one space so you can actually track on the activity and what is going on. The next thing, and I'll spend the most time here, is support, right? To achieve everything that we're doing, right, we have to be able to provide adequate support to everyone who's going online. Now, you have schools that have varying differences. Some schools are way more technologically advanced, and they've been using technology for a long time and using that within their school system, and that's great. You know, but you have schools who are just going on for the first time, and you already know the digital literacy issues across our island between the household as well as the school. You want to make sure that you're working with a partner, right, that understands the school system, but not only understands the school system, are committed, are passionate to making sure that schools go online safely, and they have a reliable system, a reliable support system, and they're getting adequate training that's needed to help navigate that online space. And with Smart Term, they'll get just that. You know, we're able to provide weekly sessions on everything that we're doing, and continuously go over the different modules that the schools have available to them, and how they can use external tools also with our system, right? And we're knowledgeable of all the things going on in our environment today, and we made sure that we provide a solution that if a school decides that, yeah, they're using Google Classroom, and because of the familiarity there, that they want the kind of school engine aspects of Smart Term, we can look to see how we integrate with G Suite, which we already do today. We integrate with G Suite as well as Office 365. So these are the things that we're doing to help promote schools going online and creating that space for them to feel safe, get supported, and keep their school culture and accountability, right? We think these are key if you're going online today as a school, and we've provided the means and the methods to do that. So, like I said, all users are on our platform, from administrators, teachers, parents, and students. One platform, and it will replace majority schools, you know, which would count for probably 8 different platforms. When we talk to most of our American-based schools, that's what they say. You're covering almost 8 different tools that we would use on a daily basis to manage school in one platform. And we want to make sure that going online is easy for every single school in Jamaica. So, if you want to reach out to us and have longer discussions or have more conversations around this, all the contact details are at the bottom, www.smartterm.io. Just reach out to us via the forms, or you can reach out to any of our phone numbers, or you can email us at info@smartterm.io, or reach out to us on social media at SmartTerm Limited. It's a homegrown company. It's built by Jamaicans, right? Supporting Jamaica. All our founders, our founding members are Jamaicans, and yeah, we're extremely passionate about the platform. It's a scale, and it's grown to over 10 different islands in the region, Latin America and Africa today. We're also in North America, and we're continuing to grow, especially during this period. So I'm happy to have this forum to kind of share where our vision is taking us and how we want to help schools navigate the online space. We don't necessarily, you know, we don't necessarily just want to bring the learning online. We want to bring schools online. We want to bring you to bring your culture online as well. So thank you guys for the platform. I look forward to talking to you guys after. And again, reach out if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shamir, for that presentation. And I see you have some fans. Someone was saying, go, Shabir. Catherine was saying, Catherine, wonderful. And also, just a quick shout out to a couple of the folks here. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us, energized and ready to go, ready for the road. Marsha, should you know, school could open on September 7th, she's saying. We've got extremely grateful to be here. That's Gail, Jasmine, telling us good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too, Jasmine. Feeling good. Really good presentations. Kudos, Dr. Rattray and team. That's from Veronica. Radley Reed is happy to be on the learning curve. Happy to have you, sir. Thank you very much, everybody. This is where Shamir just gave us a bit of a prelude to the sorts of technologies that exist, and we're happy to see some brilliant homegrown talent on display there. But now it's time to hear from a lady, very, very instrumental, woman in the education field. She, in 2006, and could you believe it's been 14 years since, there was some controversy around an action, a decision she made. She made a decision to become the first female principal of St. George's College, the all-boys school. And since then, she has managed to break another record, because now she has the record of being the longest serving principal in that role, sticking with it for 14 years. And during that time, she also became the principal of the year, the LASCO principal of the year in 2018. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Education Remix stage to get techy with it. I told her I was gonna play the song from Will Smith, Get Jiggy With It, to kind of bring her session on. That's her like dance on, walk on song, but she did say that as long as she's not required to dance, it was okay, but I didn't get to pull it up in time. But ladies and gentlemen, Margaret Campbell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited this afternoon to be sharing with you on Get Techy With It. It's, you know, there were questions about my, what do I know about technology to be able to do this? So I will tell you that one of my teachers has been calling me a nerd. Over the last few months, I have gotten quite a bit of experience in using some of the online platforms. And so I'm excited to share with you this afternoon, just to share that I am sharing with you as an educator who has learned technology. I am not big and technical. I am an educator. And so I am happy to be sharing with you in that way, because it shows you that you can also do the same. And so to start us off, I would like to start by sharing a video that I created using one of the apps. It's of course clumsily done. I'm freely saying that all the technology that I've used here, I have done it myself. I've not had any technical assistance to make me look good. So anything that you see, if it's a little bit clumsy, it's because I've done it myself. So please be patient with me. The first one, I'd like to start out with a video, as I said. Sometimes it gives a little trouble, but I think it is worth the sharing. So let me just pull that up for you so that you can see it. I hope that it will go through well without any kind of hitches. My apologies, I forgot to share my audio, and it's important that you hear that, so let's go again. Well done, educators. You deserve an award. I want to commend you for the work that you have done over the last few months and the ways in which you have kept our learners engaged. I know that it might not have been easy and that sometimes you might not have felt appreciated, but I wanted you to know that your work has been valued and valuable. Now it's time for us to get to work in transforming emergency remote teaching into effective online learning. But how? How do we do that? All right, no problem. My video left us behind, something to do with Wi-Fi. But I wanted to show you that particular video because the app I created it with is called Prezi Video. As I go through this presentation, I am going to intermix the tips with the tools. So we don't have time in this one short hour for me to teach you the technology. But what I'd like you to do is have pen and paper handy or use some technological device and jot down all the ones you see that you like, so that you can look at it later and see what it's like. Prezi Video is fantastic in allowing sharing of PowerPoint of slides, but in a way that is dynamic. And so I just like, before I formally start, I would like to share again and show you a short video on Prezi Video. And we'll be right there. Don't fret about my paused video. We should soon get that sorted out. Okay, let's see if we can get that going. Okay, here we go. Take a look.
Prezi Video puts you front and center right with your content. And with our advanced editor, you can wow your audience even more. To import your slides, you'll need the Prezi Video desktop app. From your online dashboard, click Import PowerPoint to open the app automatically, or click Download Prezi Video for desktop. Once the app's open, find your PowerPoint and click Open. It may take a few moments to convert your slides, but once it's ready, you can choose to import some or all of your slides. Here's a tip. Hold Shift and click on different slides to select more than one to import. You'll see your slides import over here on the side. Let's delete the first frame by clicking the X here. You can change the template look with your slides if you'd like. And if you want, you can add more content by clicking Content and then add your own text and images. Otherwise, it's time to share your video with the world. Or just your specific audience, that's fine too. But before you do, we recommend practicing a few times. If you're ready to broadcast, click Go Live to stream live with various video conference and webinar apps. Or go back and click Record to create a video that you can send out later. When you're ready, hit the red button to start recording. You can use the three buttons here to toggle between you and your content, or just your content. Awesome. Once you're done, click the red button again to stop. No worries. You can always trim the beginning and the end of the video if you want to, here. When you're done, give it a preview. If you like your take, then you're almost ready to go. Click Export to download a video that you can play offline. You can download it to be optimized for social media, mobile, or simply keep it at its current size. Give it a name and then click Save. Just make sure you know where you saved it. And that's it. Start taking those slide decks and turn them into engaging video content with Prezi Video.
As we look at that particular app, I chose it because I think it represents what using technology in the classroom should be about. It should be about fun. It should be engaging. I often say to my teachers, if you are bored planning it, they'll be bored learning it. And so I want to encourage you that as we go throughout the presentation, to think about the ways that you can make use of the apps that I demonstrate, and you make use of the tips that I'm going to give you regarding online learning to engage your students better, to help them to learn, to improve their learning. So let's get started with the presentation. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of patience, but we'll be there. And so I want to encourage you to when COVID happened and everything closed down, all the schools closed down, we moved from remote distance teaching. What we experienced was not online learning. What we experienced was remote distance teaching, where we were frantically trying to keep students engaged by teaching. Not quite sure how much learning was taking place, but we did really make a good effort. And so I'd like to commend all teachers. Now, though, it's time for us to wheel and come again, to take a look at what we have presented and find a way to transform remote teaching into online learning that is effective for the students. And so as we go through this presentation, this is what I expect, that at the end of it, you'll be able to plan for effective online learning. you'll be able to identify at least 5 useful tools for effective online learning, and you'll be able to find out how to use those tools for effective online learning. And so let's jump right in with tip number 1. Tip number 1 takes us back to being students, back to being learners. And so I want to encourage all of us to take an online course. How can we know what the students are going to experience in our online courses if we have not done an online course? There are many, many online courses that are free and that are short. So here's one. I'd like to recommend this for this particular site, Coursera, because Coursera offers online courses from universities and colleges free of charge, and some of them are certified from any kind of topic that you can imagine. There are topics on how to conduct online learning. I found a 2-hour one on how to effectively breastfeed. So there are all kinds of courses. Feel free to take an online course. Find a short one, go through the process so that you will know what the students will be experiencing from your online course, and also so that you can gain some ideas as you go through. So tip number 1, become a learner, take an online course. As I had shared before, we in emergency remote teaching, the teacher and teaching are the focus. In effective online learning, the learner and learning are the focus. And so we need to look at what content, what are we providing, and in what way we're providing it in order to engage students so that they can learn effectively. And so tip number 2, equip your students to take the lead. In an online environment, learning and the learner take the lead. And so, but they're not accustomed to that kind of environment in the same way that we are not. And so we need to equip them for that. We need to be deliberate about how we prepare the students for online learning. And so what are some of the things that we need to do? We need to prepare them to progress autonomously without us. Many of us like the fact that the students depend on us. We have been aiming to try to have the students more independent for years, but this now forces us to do that. We have to prepare them to progress autonomously by giving them access to carefully designed, engaging content. Notice carefully designed, engaging content. Not just things that, it's not about just taking the content from our regular day-to-day classroom and putting it online. It's so much more than that. We have to carefully design our content so that it is engaging and so that students can progress autonomously through it. The next one is that we need to support them while they're working through scheduled and unscheduled regular communication. So they need to have access to you. And so it's a paradigm shift. It is not like when we stand at the front of a class and deliver instruction. This now is an environment where we set the tone, we put the material out there, carefully designed to be engaging, and we set the students loose on it. But we first need to equip them to be able to do it. And so what we really are talking about is something that's been around for a long, long time, which is flipping the classroom, changing it so that the students are the ones that take the lead, flipping the classroom so that they can learn independently, so that they can self-pace. But in order for that to happen, this has to happen. We have to give up control. Not all of our control, of course, but we have to give up some control. We have to give up control, firstly, by changing our mindset. We are seeing a classroom where we are in control at the front and the students are busily working at their place. In this classroom, every child has a front seat. The Ministry of Education slogan becomes real. Every child can learn, every child must learn, because here everybody's in the front seat. But first we need to change our own mindset about it and recognize that the classroom online is different. And the second thing is that we need to change the students' mindset, and we need to be deliberate about it. So for example, I approached my head students this past week to ask them to create a video, which we will send out to our students, preparing them for that, to tell them that learning has changed, that their teachers will still be accessible, but accessible in a different way, that they have to work on their own, use it on their own pace, that they have to be responsible, self-paced. So that's just one of the things that you can do. Speak it into being, I say. If we say it enough times and the students hear it enough times, they will start to listen and start to change their mindsets. But first, we need to change our own. We need to also give up some control by sharing our objectives and expectations clearly. You see, in the online class, what students are guiding their own learning and their self-pacing. It means that we have to provide objectives and expectations clearly so that they can self-pace, so that they don't have to run to us for every question that they have, but it's already provided clearly and unambiguously so that they can progress autonomously. One other suggestion that I have learned is to share work by week. It's also a paradigm shift. We are accustomed to sharing work by topic. We stick to topics, but in the online space, work is better placed in the online classroom by week, so that students can pace themselves knowing that this is what I'm expected to complete by in the end of 1 week. It could be by 2 weeks or by 3 weeks, but I would recommend by 1 week to help them to pace themselves. We need to give clear, unambiguous instructions for tasks. If we don't do that, then we continue to hold on to control. We need to place the task, give instructions for tasks so clearly that the students are able to take it on by themselves. We need to encourage them to reach out to their peers before they reach out to us. In the online space, they are able to communicate with their peers. And so we need to very easily. What about a Zoom class, a Zoom session without you? What about having them create Zoom sessions with each other to discuss a topic, a task that you have designed where you are not present, where they do some work first as a group before they come to you? Allow choice. One excellent way to build autonomy is to allow students to have choice. Someone shared with me recently one way to allow students choice. There are multitude of ways, but I wanted to share this one with you because I found it so interesting. This one is called a choice board. When the person who was sharing it talked about choice boards, I went to look online. Yes, that's the nerd in me. And I found so many choice boards online. The way it works is that you give the students instruction as to how to access it. In this one, for example, the students are instructed to do number 5, as well as any other 2 that would result in a tic-tac-toe win. So, for example, they could do 2, 5, and 8, or 1, 5, and 9. So 5 must be done, and then they would choose the direction they would like. And if you look at some of these tasks, they are really high expectation tasks. I fell in love with this assignment when I saw it. So look at this one in number 2, for example. Create 4 character trading cards using the digital tool of your choice. Remember to include the character's name and image and at least 5 characteristics of each one. In each one of these choice board options, you will see that there's reliance on technology. And so teachers, we need to come away from our fear of it. I know that some of us are afraid of the technology. I know that is true, but the only way to get over that fear is to jump right in and get techy with it. Another way that we give up control is by, just to say, over the time that we have been out, there was a heavy reliance on live presentations, Zoom, Google Meet, other presentation tools like that, where we were live, where we could see the students. And that was really just an attempt to mimic our classroom presence, our traditional classroom presence. In the online space and giving up control, we need to think about what kinds of methods we will use in the classroom. Will we use synchronous methods, which is at the same time, or will we use asynchronous methods where students are self-paced? So will we go live or will we be self-paced? Actually, in the online space, it is better that we make use of more than one, of both of these, that we mix them for the best outcome for our students. But in the online classroom, when we're giving up control, self-paced learning actually takes the lead. It is supported by live learning, where we come into the space in order to provide guidance, to help students with things they might not have understood clearly, in order to prod them along, those kinds of things. But really, it is the asynchronous learning that takes the lead in a true online platform that is effective for student learning. Now, if you are going live, just a few pointers, because there are, even though I am speaking about using asynchronous methods, there are some times, and if we're going to mix it, that we would like to go live. And so here are some tips when we go live. Some things to think about, and these are only some, and I've related it to Zoom, but there are other platforms. So the first thing is, don't just lecture. If you are bored planning it, they're bored learning it. Don't just lecture. Find ways to use Zoom that are creative. And so how do we do that? We go to YouTube and we type fun ways to use Zoom in the classroom, and you will see a large volume of videos come up. Choose the shortest one. That's what I usually do. So you can look through and figure out how you can make your Zoom platform or your Google Meet or whatever else you're using, how you can make that more engaging. So don't just lecture. Investigate breakout rooms. I find breakout rooms fascinating. I've never used them myself, but I have been a part of one. And so what happens is that in Zoom, you put students in groups, you send them to the breakout rooms at a particular point, they discuss together in their groups, and then they come back. It's a timed affair. And so when they come back to you, they would have been able to share what they discussed in the breakout room. So use breakout rooms. They are fun. Students will enjoy them. The next one is use ways to make Zoom interactive. If you look that up on YouTube, lots of content. How to make Zoom interactive. You can use polls. You can use quiz games like Kahoot and quizzes for student interaction. Another recommendation for Zoom is to assign tasks and allow some silence while students work. Now, sometimes silence in Zoom can be very uncomfortable, but once you know that students are engaged, they do need some time sometimes in your Zoom session to do some work, so give them some time to do that. The next one is allow students to share their screens. Now, that you have to manage well. Some teachers have suffered from the fact that while they're busily teaching, students are writing on the screens. So you would have to establish those protocols up front, but it's good if students can share their screens and also if they can annotate on the whiteboard. Investigate the whiteboard for Zoom and investigate how you can allow students to annotate. You can also stop students from annotating if they're using it inappropriately. Use games. There are a number of games that you can do on Zoom. One for primary schools that I saw is I Spy, where the students have to spy something in another student's background and play the game of I Spy, just to develop language skills and so forth. So use games. But most of all, the most important thing in using Zoom is be creative. If you have transplanted yourself from inside a classroom to make your presence just be in front of a camera for Zoom, that's not creativity. Find some ways to make Zoom fun and to bring your teaching and learning, your classroom alive for the students. Tip number 3, maintain high expectations. In fact, many of us need to raise our expectations even higher than they are currently. Maintain your high expectations. Students need to have 21st century skills, and we have been talking about that for a long, long time. Here are just 4 of the 21st century skills that easily you can foster in an online environment: critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. And so maintain your high expectations. Just change your approach. Do not change your expectations of the students. In fact, lift your expectations, but change your approach. So maintain high expectations, but change your approach. The next tip number 4, is to be present to your students in your online platform. Yes, they don't have you in a classroom in front of them, but it is even more important. I'm sure you've heard in some of the presentations before that you need to make sure that you are present to the students. I have asked my teachers permission to share these few screens with these few screenshots with you of us I created a Google Classroom training module for the teachers, and I tried to model the presence that I wanted for us to have in our classrooms with the students. And so I sometimes up late at night, I tried to answer questions to make sure we were discussing in the stream and so forth. So this is just some short discussions that we had over some of the software that I would like to introduce you to this afternoon. And so here, one of my teachers, I told me about a particular software app called Classcraft. I had never seen it, and so I asked for a tutorial, and here's why. So I don't have to watch yet another YouTube tutorial. Yes, we might get YouTube tutorialed out, but find the shortest video and learn something new. The conversation continued where I said, oh, I love insert learning. You see, the teachers had an assignment that they were to use one of the apps called Flipgrid. You might write that one down, Flipgrid. They were to use Flipgrid to record themselves making a video. And one of the apps that I heard one of them speak about was insert learning. And I was captivated by the idea of insert learning. So I put, I love insert learning. And a teacher responded, I love it too. I have to master master it quickly. And I was looking for an audio app, and one teacher had spoken about Audacity. So I said, oh, I like Audacity. Let me go and check that one out. And then one teacher, Miss Vernal, I found her Flipgrid particularly entertaining. I'm going to play it for you. But Miss Vernal, and I asked her permission to share it. Make sure you do that if you're using any content. But her Flipgrid video I found hilarious. And I told her thanks for the laugh. And she said, thank you. And then this final one where in this video, in this little clip here, I realized that the teachers were having a little bit of a challenge in doing one particular thing. And so I very quickly recorded my screen of me doing it and shared that with them in order for them to be able to watch the video, which was less than 1 minute. And they said, thanks, it was useful, and so forth. So now I'm going to pause this just a little bit so that I can show you Miss Vernal's Flipgrid video. And so let me just jump across to that. Okay, let's go to the, all right, let me see if I can find that. Okay, here we go. So this is Miss Vernal with her Flipgrid video.
Morning, everyone. The app that I found interesting is actually this one, Flipgrid. For someone who doesn't like being in front of a camera, it gives me similar features of that of Instagram and Snapchat that can make my classes fun and exciting and making videos even more interesting for me. You can use features like filters, fonts, stickers, and emojis to make a normal video or a basic video into an exceptional experience for you and your students.
I gave them 1 minute. They were to use 1 minute to do the video. And so when Miss Vernal realized there was some time left, she started to enjoy the software. And that is Miss Vernal with our Flipgrid app. I would encourage you to write down that name, Flipgrid, and to experiment with it. It is a video assignment platform where you post a video telling the students what they are supposed to do, and then the students video in response. They can look at each other's videos. You maintain control in what you post. All the videos, they don't have to get posted until you look at it, just in case any student is being inappropriate. So as we continue with being present, the next tip on the being present, which is 4.1, over-communicate. Over-communicate. If you think you're communicating enough in your online platform, communicate some more. Communicate with students, communicate with parents. We have to understand that as we go online and move into the students' homes, that their parents are also able to look at what we are teaching. And so it is important that we ensure that when we're communicating, we recognize that the parents are also looking on. That's important. Communication can either make or break you in an online environment. Make sure that you post, and there are different ways to communicate. You can communicate by video, you can communicate by email, you can communicate in various ways. In most learning management systems, there is an app, a tool where you can just post informally so that you can maintain communication. The next one, tip 4.2, set boundaries. So I'll share a little experience with you. I taught mathematics this year, and it was to a CSEC group. I noticed that when I was using the Zoom platform, my students would come on late, or they wouldn't come on at all. And then they would turn up at 11 o'clock at night asking me questions. And when I said, well, why weren't you in my Zoom class? They said, boy, miss, I never wake up. So now they're awake at 11:30 and expected me to be awake and present with them. Now I made a mistake. I was awake and present with them. Do not do that. It is a recipe for disaster in terms of your mental health and your emotional stability. So I want to encourage you to set boundaries. State times when you'll be available for your students. Make sure that that is clear from the very beginning. How do you want to be contacted? Are they supposed to contact you between the hours of so forth and so on? And are they supposed to use WhatsApp? Are they supposed to use email only? Or are you using email for certain things, WhatsApp for other things? So explain to them how you, from the very beginning, how you want to be contacted. Avoid giving them your personal contact information. I know that many of us think that we are very caring, and in our nurturing way, we feel that we should give them every way to contact us. Be very careful, because you are also important. I would recommend against that. Tip number 4.3, use WhatsApp appropriately. WhatsApp was intended as an informal way to communicate. It has taken the fore in our education system over the last couple of months. I would like us to relegate it back to where it was intended. So we can use WhatsApp, we can communicate with students through WhatsApp. It's a quick way, and we know that most of the parents and the students are there. But I would recommend that we not use it for formal communications, that we use email instead. When we email things out, that is seen as formal. We can share the content that we put in email also in WhatsApp, but use it that way and not the other way around. So use email for formal communications. I would recommend against using WhatsApp for online teaching. I know that our realities are different, and so I will not dictate to you, but my recommendation is that we not use it for online teaching. It is very, very frustrating because the chat goes on and on. It eats up a lot of data. The students can't find exactly where they're supposed to be because we're jumping all over the place. People are adding things in and so forth. So I would not recommend WhatsApp for online teaching. The next one. I started deliberately with the word encourage. Because this online teaching is so impersonal, it can be impersonal, we need to make sure that we are building an online community. We need to be deliberate about it. We can encourage communication between the students and collaboration. So for example, in the Google Classroom that I'm creating for my second form students, some of the assignments grade them based on their responses in the chat to other students' postings. In other words, I am pushing them to collaborate with their peers, to communicate because some students will just sit back and will be afraid to say anything. But if we make it something that we are requiring of them, then we're being deliberate about shaping an online learning community. Tip number 6, show your face. This is an excellent way to have students feel your presence, to show your face, to make so you could use videos with your embedded webcams in order to show students your face. I would like to also show you a video that I had done where I showed my face to the students. So take a look at this video.
Over the last few months, most of you have been using Edmodo as your learning management platform. As we switch over to Google Classroom, I thought it might be a good idea for us to compare the two to have some context. So let's jump right into that. There are some similarities between the two learning management platforms. They're both deployed in the cloud and both have dedicated mobile apps. So when you get a chance, download the mobile app for Google Classroom and take a look at that. They both provide free accounts for teachers and students, and they're both very easy to implement. They primarily target the K-12 market, which makes them perfect for high school. They're both designed to help teachers supplement their classroom lessons, of course, in an online environment. Teachers can organize their course material, track assignments, and communicate with students. And they both provide features that encourage collaboration and social learning. Let's take a look now at some of the differences between the two platforms. Both platforms integrate with student information systems, but whereas in Edmodo, that is only available in their paid premium plan, in Google Classroom, it is free. Edmodo has a Facebook type interface, while Google Classroom has a more structured interface. Edmodo offers dedicated accounts for parents to access their students' work and collaborate with other parents, whereas in Google Classroom, it doesn't have that capability. Instead, parents receive an email summary of their students' work. Edmodo provides limited integration with some third-party apps. You can access other apps by downloading a Spotlight tool. But in Google Classroom integrates with many student information systems, websites, and also many other apps as a part of the G Suite for Education software, so you can therefore have access in Google Classroom to all of those apps. Some other differences. Edmodo partners with other content providers to offer things such as lesson plans and tests and games, while in Google Classroom, those functions are built right into the app. Edmodo also doesn't offer mobile or email notifications of deadlines or missed assignment due dates, whereas Google has that built in as well. So those are just some of the differences and similarities between Edmodo and Google Classroom. I would also like to just briefly introduce you to the interface that I'm using to record this presentation, which is called Screencastify. It is one of the apps that integrates well with Google Classroom, and there are many. So and throughout the module, I'll try to introduce briefly a few of them with the hope of piquing your interest so that you can investigate others. But this one allows you to have a presence when you're doing your presentations, sort of. It's called Screencastify, as I had said, and you can do some interesting things with it, move your embedded webcam around and so forth. So feel free to download the app and to experiment with it as well as others, as we do anything we can to make online learning engaging and fun.
And so I hope that from that video, we would have also met Screencastify. I love Screencastify. We'll talk a little bit more about screencasting as we go forward, but also then that leads us really nicely into, oh, let's get past my face here again. Let's go on a bit. Sorry about that. So just a quick tip for principals, because I know there are some principals in the group, which came from that video that I just shared with you. Standardize your learning management system. It is not a good idea to have some teachers using one, some teachers using another. There are so many, but this is a way to flatten that curve. Yes, this is one that we can actually flatten. So we can flatten this learning curve as we try to flatten the COVID curve. So we can flatten the learning curve by standardizing on the LMS so that everybody is learning on the same platform. Instead of having to learn several different ones, it also is good for the students to have a standard platform that they're using. There are so many. Here are just a few of the ones that I am familiar with, but as I looked online, there are so many, some I've never heard of. But of course, there's Edmodo, there's Google Classroom, Schoology, Blackboard, Moodle, of course, and RenWeb now has an LMS as well, but standardize on which one, do some research, see which one suits your environment best, and standardize on that one. For us at St. George's, we chose Google Classroom. There are some good benefits there, but there are benefits in others as well. So take a look and decide on which one you want to use for your school. Choose one. As we continue with showing your face and making your presence known to your students, use screencasting. I'm going to demonstrate screencasting in a bit, but there are different, screencasting really is about recording your screen. So there are several screencasting software, but there are two apps that I have used, Screencast-O-Matic and Screencastify. Screencast-O-Matic allows you 15 minutes, and by the way, just to say, every app I talk about in here, I use the free version. Love the freeness, right? So I use the free version. So Screencast-O-Matic's free version gives you 15 minutes. Screencastify gives you 5 minutes. But you will see later on why Screencastify is a good option. But Screencast-O-Matic, Screencastify, two different apps, easy to use. Just look for a quick YouTube video on how to do them so that you can record your screen for your students. Tip number 7, record your classes, don't stream them. Record your classes, don't stream them. When we think about it, we are moving from an environment where we streamed everything. Zoom was the thing to do. But if we're going to be effective in our online classroom, it is better that you record your classes and then post the videos rather than streaming live. Here are some benefits. You can redo. You can redo it. If it didn't come out quite right or you said something you shouldn't have said, you can redo that before you post it and make it perfect. Students can choose when they watch it, so they can pace themselves. So this is one way that we can help students to self-pace. You can archive and reuse the content so that you don't have to create it again next year. And students can revisit the content as often as they'd like as part of their study routine. So I would really recommend that you record your classes instead of streaming them. Tip number 8, be deliberate. note that word, about creating engaging, high quality content and assessment. For heaven's sake, don't be boring. Teacher and boring should not go together. We need to be engaging our students. So be deliberate about creating engaging, high quality content. If you find that you are taking a document that you use in a regular classroom and plunking it into your online space, you're doing the wrong thing. We need to think about, how does this present to the students so that they're not bored? I would like to show you a few of the things that I have done in my classroom that I'm creating for second form students to make it less boring, to make it not boring at all. I don't believe in boring. So let's just let me just hop out of this again just for a minute as I show you some of the things that I did to engage students to make learning more fun. So I created a Powtoon video, which I would like to share with you. Powtoon is, okay, let me be quiet for a bit while I allow you to watch it.
What is a research question? It's a question that's at the center of our research. It should be clear, focused.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's try that again. I think I messed it up when I am. Okay, this is not.
John. It's a question that's at the center of our research. It should be clear, focused, concise. Why is a research question important? It helps to keep us focused on what we are researching. There are some steps to creating a research question. Choose an interesting topic. Do some preliminary research. Think about your audience. Jot down some options and then select and evaluate. Is your research question clear, focused, concise, complex, and let's think about the clarity of your research question. In this first example, the question is unclear and lacking in focus. In this second example, the question is clear and more focused to guide our research. Is the question focused and suitably complex? This first example is simple and lacking in focus. This second example is very focused and is suitably complex to guide our. Is your question arguable, or does it have a simple yes or no answer? This example has a yes or no answer and is therefore not arguable. The second example causes us to have to research and does not have a simple yes or no answer. It is therefore a good research. You're now ready to write your research questions. Remember to read the article that's included. That will give you some additional guidance as you.
Okay, so that was my amateur video using Powtoon. Powtoon is a lot of fun. It allows the students to, and I'll tell you a little bit about where that came from, why I created that Powtoon video. I'm teaching students in second form, that's grade 8, how to do a research. And I realized that the document I put up was going to be boring to read. So this was my thought process. Anything boring, I don't believe in boring. So I thought, let me see what kind of app I can use to create something that's fun and then refer them to the document to support their learning. And so hence came Powtoon. That's the free version. Of course, you can do more elaborate things in the paid version, but I do think that the students will find it much more engaging if you support it like that. So in being deliberate about creating engaging, high quality content and assessment and not being boring, keep your videos short. Keep them short. If your videos are longer than 5 minutes, then maybe you should find some other videos or cut it in 2 and provide 2 videos, or, find some way to keep it short. The student's attention span for videos that are instructional, just like ours, is not always that great. So we need to keep our videos short. Pay attention to that tip. Notice the one I did a while ago. I think it was about 2 minutes long. The next one in not being boring is to keep slideshows short and add animation and narration. If your slideshow is longer than 6 slides, I would say, then consider splitting it into more than one slideshow based on, find a creative way to split it, but keep your slideshows short as well. Again, not to be boring, be versatile. Use different apps. There are so many apps that are available out there. Don't just stick with one. Don't stick with Flipgrid or Screencastify. Be versatile. Search for apps to do what you want. So I'm going to give you another example. In my Google Classroom, where I'm teaching the students how to research, I wanted to have them, I guided them through the research by doing an example of my own. At one point, I wanted the students to look at what I'd written, including the references as an example. I realized that my video, which was my thing, which was just slides showing them the different things, was quite boring. And since I do not do boring, I decided that I was going to try to find a way to make it more interesting, just something just as simple as them looking at that. So I'm going to see if I can find it quickly. Here it is. I'm going to show you what I created instead. What I thought was, it might be a little bit more interesting if this looked, I remembered seeing ebooks on YouTube and other places, I said, maybe if I did this as an ebook, this would be interesting to students. But then I investigated ebook apps and they cost money. The free version for those just look like slides. So I said, okay, that won't work. So I decided instead, well, I'm very good at PowerPoint. PowerPoint is my thing. Anybody wants some advice on PowerPoint? I am good. So I decided to use PowerPoint. And what I did was I created a book effect turning pages. And I said, well, it doesn't look much like a book because there's no binding. And so I put a straight line down the middle of the slide, added a shadow, and this is the result. Now, the only thing is, I will say that this is still a little bit boring. And so when I was watching this in preparation for you, I decided that after this presentation, I am going to add some music. But let's take a look at it as it stands. It doesn't have any sound, quite boring. I'm going to fix that after this, but take a look. And so just by using PowerPoint, I have created a video that looks like turning pages. It just adds some interest so that it's not as boring as them just scrolling through slides. So it's just to add a little bit of difference. And so I want to encourage you to try to find ways, and I included, of course, references, and I made sure I was true to the referencing format that I wanted them to use, because I try to model everything that I do for the students as well. And so that's just a little example as to how you can be versatile, how you can mix things up a bit, how you can make things different for the students. And so I have a few suggestions here for some of the apps that I think you might like. Flipgrid you saw already. There's another one called Insert Learning. And in a little bit, I'm going to skip out of the presentation again and show you Insert Learning. Insert Learning, though, well, I'll tell you about that one when I demonstrate it. Then there's another one called Ed Puzzle. Write these down. They're good apps. The students will love them. Then there's Kahoot, which I think many of us know. You can use Kahoot in an online way. Very interesting. Quizzes, which is like Kahoot, but Quizzes I found I really like because Quizzes has a lot of pre-done quizzes. So you don't have to work. All you have to do is upload. So Quizzes, excellent one. And of course, Powtoon, which I just demonstrated. I would like to jump out just a little bit to show you Insert Learning. So we will come back to the presentation in just a bit. So I'm going to go to my Google Classroom. This is the classroom that I have set up for my second form students. Notice that at the top of it, I start with useful resources where I give them the course outline, some useful things they need to be able to do. But I'm going to go down to a section that talks about how to, in gathering data, how to do a survey. Okay. Now, I decided I was not going to reinvent the wheel. There are lots of things online about how to create a survey, but I don't do boring. And so I wanted to change that to make it more interesting. So in my how to do a survey assignment, I used Insert Learning. Now, what Insert Learning does, so let me just go to this link and show you Insert Learning. I found a website that explained to the students how to do a survey. When you go to that, when they click on it and it takes them to that website is going to, I have created using Insert Learning. What Insert Learning does is it gives you a little toolbar so that you can add things to the website. Yes, you heard me right. You can add things to the website. You can add questions. You can highlight things. You can put post-it notes where you think it might be important for the students to look. And so insert learning is oh, there it says I need to add Chrome. Okay, we will leave that alone. But just to say that for insert learning, what it does is it puts a little toolbar, very, very easy to use. It puts a little toolbar on the left of your screen on the website itself, so that you can just click to add a question. You can add discussion points. You can put a post-it note, those kinds of things. Check it out, easy to use. By the way, all you do for all of these ads is to create a free account, and your free account, you could do it with Google. It's very easy to do. While we're here in the classroom, let me take the time to show you another app that I think will add interest. In this particular app, I wanted, so let me just show you this quickly. So I was trying to help students format their work by writing in APA or MLA style. Yes, they can learn at grade 8. We are lifting our expectations of our students. All we need to do is set the groundwork so that they can reach it. So in formatting the APA format, I found 3 short videos. 3 short, remember, all less than 5 minutes. There they are, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. 3 short videos. 1 on how to format the paper using APA style, 1 on how to use a reference list, and 1 on how to reference websites. Then I created a Jamboard. Let me just close this. Then I created a Jamboard. By the way, notice at the start of each week, I have a video introduction. That is to help them to see your face and to help keep yourself present in the classroom. But then I created a Jamboard. This is another app, really nice. I created a Jamboard because I thought, after they've learned these rules of APA and MLA, what then? Am I going to just give them a handout that has the boring rules written out? Well, very boring. And also, we want to get the students engaged in their own learning. So what I did was I created a Jamboard. So let's see if I can show that to you in how to use a Jamboard. And of course, this video is a short video. I am practicing what I preach. So watch this on how you use a Jamboard.
To use a Jamboard for this assignment, click on the Jamboard here, and that will take you to the Google Jamboard for the APA style. The name is in the top left-hand corner, and here in the center are the pages. There are 3 pages to this Jamboard, and you can access them by using the arrows. The first page is for rules related to formatting your paper. The second page is for rules related to referencing documents. And the third page is for rules related to referencing websites. To add a rule, we are going to add sticky notes or post-its by clicking on the sticky note icon. You can change the color if you would like. Let's just make it a different color. And you would type what you would like to, the rule that you would like to add. So for example, and we would click save. Sticky note is added to the Jamboard. You can move it around if you'd like. You can turn it or tilt it. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can use these 3 dots to edit what you have written, to duplicate it, or to delete. Please add only 1 rule to any one of the 3 pages to allow your classmates to also add other rules.
Now I have to say, isn't that wonderful? So that is a way that you can, and there are many other ways, that you can engage your students in their own learning while not being boring, right? So being versatile, using all kinds of different apps. But Jamboard's very easy to use, and it would help them to create their oh, and at the end of that, I should say, I can also download those Jamboards as a PDF and send it to the students. So they would then have the notes and they would have created it themselves. In not being boring, reduce screen time. Sometimes I need not to be in front of the screen. So think about some other things that you can send them away to do that they can upload for you. So don't limit yourself just because we're online. Find ways to have them do creative things. Again, not being boring. Notice I've spent quite a bit of time on this, that we need to be deliberate about engaging the students, is to team up. Add your department members to your classroom. Work together on interesting and engaging content. Create videos together. You don't need to do it on your own. Work together to find ways to engage the students. The next one is YouTube is your friend. I remember when I first met YouTube years and years ago, my response was, I love YouTube. I really do love YouTube. It has so many excellent things for education. So use pre-recorded resources. You don't have to create everything yourself. Provide the students with the links for it, and just a reminder to check your links periodically to make sure that they're still there, because sometimes things disappear. You have it in your classroom, the students click and get frustrated because they can't access the material. That actually happened to me in my Google Classroom. I put a link that I didn't know was to a paid site, because for me it was the free trial version, and when the students tried to access it, it was asking them for payment. So we need to be careful about the links that we share. The next one, take advantage of freeness. I think I've said that before. There are a lot of open source things that you can access. Look for free apps, and for some of the apps there's a free version, and I find that a lot of the free versions are adequate. You know, you might then want to upgrade if you'd like, but most of them, the free version is adequate. Number 9, and we're almost there. I only have one more after this, so stay tuned. Be a humble learner. We have to recognize that this environment is new to us. Be patient with yourself. Don't, be patient. Learn one app per month, Take your time and learn it. Ask for help. Admit your limitations to your students. Tell them that this environment is new to you and that you are learning as well. Your students will love that. They love thinking that they've helped the teacher. So ask your students for help and then promise to do your best. Tell them that you'll do your best this year and then really do it. You can do it. It just means that you need to jump in feet first and get started. And then we move on to my final tip for the afternoon. And this one is the biggest one. It is the most important one. So pay attention. Now you have the tools. So just jump right in and get techie with it. That's tip number 10. Jump right in. Put the fear aside. If you can get your exhilaration with the apps to be just a little bit more than your fear, you are 100% there. So just jump right in and get techie with it. At the start of this presentation, these were the things I said that you should be able to do. I said that you should be able to plan for effective online learning, and I've provided you with 10 tips to do that. You should be able to identify at least 5 tools for effective online learning, and I've given you a lot more. I hope you wrote them down so that you can go ahead and look and find some useful YouTube videos, because the third one, how to use the tools, YouTube is your friend. Find the shortest YouTube videos that explain it clearly and then test it out for yourself. You could have the video running on your phone while you are testing or as you go, and you will learn those apps that you would like to learn. And as I close this afternoon, I just want to say thank you and happy teaching. I want to wish you it's going to be a different kind of school year. We don't quite know how it's going to look, but I want to encourage you to remove the reservations that you have regarding online learning, to recognize that none of us chose that. There is a separate profession called online teacher. We chose our profession to be in the classroom because we love the students, we love engaging with them, we love the interaction and the energy. But it's a different kind of environment, and teachers make the best learners, I always say, and we ought to be constantly learning. So jump right in, learn some new things, learn ways to engage your students, and have a good time doing it. So the most important, beyond number 10, is have fun doing it. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you very much. Man, you said you don't do boring. Definitely, you do not do boring, because that was engaging. It was captivating. I mean, the chat was going off and off and off, and people, I'm trying to see if I can catch some of the comments for you.
People said mesmerizing.
Mesmerizing, yes. Somebody said it was mesmerizing. Man, I'm telling you, your teachers must be very, very engaged, and by now they're all teched up, because you seem to have gone and found every form of technology that can be helpful to the students and introduced it to your teachers. How long did it take you to kind of get all of your people on board?
Well, what we did was starting in June, I started to send things out, and then I created a Google Classroom that had, as you saw, quite a number of apps mixed into it, so that it was a more, gentle introduction. And
Right.
so, and then we did some face-to-face training as well. I don't know that everybody's fully on board, just because it's a different environment. But what we are excited, I would say that we are excited, and if we're excited, then we will certainly get to where we need to be with the apps. So we've been working at it during the summer. The teachers came in to actually do face-to-face, and they did first. I did the online course for about a week and a half, and then they came in for face-to-face. So we're working on it. We're excited.
Okay. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I didn't know. I was saying to Renee that there is no way that you could have learned all of this as part of your survival for this time, and we not share it with all of our fellow change makers, all the folks that have joined the education remix today. So we want to thank you very much for.
I wonder if I could just share one more that I forgot.
Oh.
If you have time. Okay, spoke about insert learning, which is where you can put something on a web page, questions on a web page. Teachers, check out Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle does the same thing, but for videos. You can use any YouTube video and attach questions midway. Edpuzzle. You can attach questions and make it into an assessment. Exciting for you to use in your classroom. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like the classrooms are going to be very fun come September. Or
I hope
October,
so.
Whichever time, September or October, whichever time it happens for us. And we want to say thank you very much for taking the time to put together that very captivating, I mean, all throughout, very interactive. I paid attention to everything and stole some tips as well. So I'm sure you don't mind though.
Not at all.
For joining us, ladies and gentlemen, Margaret Campbell. I'm going to invite Renee to join us now, even as we get prepared for the next session. Renee, are you there? Renee?
Yes, I am here.
Great.
I am here. I missed that calendar. My volume was down. Can you repeat?
No, I was just saying as we get ready for the next session, but before you see, Margaret, Techy Boss is that's your name now,
Techy Boss, I love it.
Techy Boss, that's courtesy.
I think I prefer that to nerd, which is what they've been calling me at school. I'll take Techy Boss.
Right? That's courtesy of Carleen in the chat. It's great that you learned all these to help your teachers, as Rosetta is passing that commendation on to you.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent presentation. Cheryl saying excellent, awesome presentation. Peter Gay saying excellent. I'm trying to see if I catch any question. Very student-friendly methods, Principal Margaret. Aldine is giving you that commendation there.
Oh, thank you all so much.
We love her. Who's Shelley Wong? Shelley Wong is.
Oh, that's one of my teachers. That's the one who's been calling me a nerd.
Shelley, here, I have to call her a Techy Boss. Nerd.
Techy Boss.
Techy
Boss.
As of
I
today.
take it.
We've remixed it, Shelley. So now it's Techy Boss.
No.
Thanks for leading by example, Suzette says. Beautiful presentation, Shireen. Renee, you're going to say something?
Yes, I'm going to say that this is one of the things I love about Margaret, because she does lead by example. You are one of the best teacher leaders I know. You have many principals who work hard and what have you, but you have prioritized teacher leadership. And from the moment you got to St. George's, you and I have had conversations about the things that you do with your staff that are simply phenomenal. And I have watched St. George's grow and grow and grow under your leadership. And it's because you have created a team. Many of those people could become principal tomorrow because of how you have nurtured them. And I admire you. I was so thrilled to sit on a panel to select you as the principal of the year with LASCO in 2018, because it was just, you are phenomenal, and nobody can argue with the way you do what you do, the passion with which you do it, the excellence with which you do it, and
ease
as well.
Yeah,
so,
and you can see that even though you've been a principal for 14 years, clearly you're a teacher, right?
Oh gosh, that's my first love.
Exactly.
You're a teacher, man.
And so Margaret sent me a message the other day. I don't know if I'm taking tails out, but from one of her teachers, she had sent them the poster, the flyer, right, of this event, and her teachers created what was it, like a dance hall?
Well, she got her own dub. They got
Her own dub. She got
her own dub, and it definitely
got
was
a remix. They were like, what they called you again, Margaret?
Oh, I forgot.
Oh my God, I wish I could.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Margaret, she come to get techy with it.
But whatever it is, they thought she was out and stunting. That's all.
Yes, that was it.
Yes,
That's all I'm gonna say about it.
I know.
Oh, thank you so much.
Rapport that you have with your teachers for them to send that back to you immediately, and you are an example, you're a role model. There's no doubt that you love what you do and you're passionate. So I'm just grateful that you were able to come and share with us today, Margaret. Keep doing what you're doing. Margaret is a great resource. She's
Thank you.
Resource that Jamaica has to tap into more and more and more, and she is eager to share. So please,
I have to give you this one final one, and it's a perfect segue. Odette says, I think I can truly say that I'm energized now.
Hey.
That's great, because we're coming to the end of day 2. And I think if we're on time, and I see a note that he's in, I think we're about to segue to another energizer who is about to lift it higher than Margaret just took up. So I'm going to step away.
Okay.
I want to step away. Thank you so much, Margaret, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wayne Robinson is saying, yes, best of us. If you get a big up from Wayne.
Oh, I love Wayne. Thank you, Wayne.
Right. Wayne Robinson, another phenomenal human being and leader.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. What a wonderful day we've had. If you've had a really good day, I have. If you've had a really good day, put some things out in the give me a word. You know, I love to get your words. Give me a word about how you're feeling right now, having been a part of this day and a half. What are you feeling? We're coming to the end. This is the very last session. Tell us how it's been. Somebody says, I'm gonna get techie. And I see somebody saying, is there a day 3? Oh my gosh, you'd have to lift me up on a stretcher. Somebody says, phenomenal, awesome, ready. Oh my gosh, school could open tomorrow. Very informative sessions. Woohoo! Enthusiastic. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Inspired. Okay, well, if you think you are now, you just wait. I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman. Where is he? Can you come on camera so we can see your face and all your swaggerificness? Ah!
I'm on camera. How you doing, sis?
Hi, I'm good. This is Chris Emden, and under normal circumstances, I wouldn't do this. I would just introduce him as my brother and friend, and somebody who I just find to be my education partner. But I want to read you his bio today. He doesn't like this stuff, but I'm going to do it because it's important. It's important because we need to see people like us doing great things in spaces where there are not enough of us. And so I want to read and introduce this gentleman to you properly. Dr. Chris Emden is an associate professor in the Department of Mathematics, Science and Technology at Teachers College, Columbia University, where he also serves as director of the Science Education Program and associate director of the Institute of Urban and Minority Education. He's an alumni fellow at the Hutchins Center at Harvard University and served as STEAM ambassador for the U.S. Department of State and Minorities in Energy ambassador for the U.S. Department of Energy. Dr. Emden is a social critic, public intellectual and science advocate whose commentary on issues of race, culture, inequality, and education have appeared in dozens of influential periodicals, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Washington Post. Dr. Emden holds a PhD in urban education with a concentration in mathematics, science, and technology, master's degrees in both natural sciences and education administration, and bachelor's degrees in physical anthropology, biology, and chemistry. Who does that? He's the creator of the hip hop ed social movement and a much sought after public speaker and a number of topics that include hip hop education, STEM education. He's the brain behind Science Genius, which you all know now. And he's all about youth empowerment and speaking about race and class and diversity are the issues that he speaks to very frankly on his social media platforms and in various speaking arenas. He's also an advisor to numerous international organizations, school districts, and schools. He's the author of the award-winning book, Urban Science Education for the Hip Hop Generation, and the New York Times bestseller for white folks who teach in the hood and the rest of y'all too. And the part that they left out of this bio is that he is ours. Like, he is a Yadi. He wasn't born in Jamaica, but he's a son. He has Jamaican parentage. And of course, that makes him even more special, and there's even more fire and even more sauce to him. Chris Emden, hi.
Hey, sister, thank you so much for that introduction. It's a little bit painful sometimes to sit through it, but I appreciate you going through all of it. I want to give a shout out to Margaret for her amazing presentation. I got a chance to catch the tail end of it, and I really think at the intersection of understanding how to utilize technology and good pedagogy is where a lot of magic happens. So that was an amazing presentation. So shout out to her, and also some of my folks who are on here. So say big up to Wayne and my other folks who are part of the community. And I'm so glad, so thankful to have the opportunity to share this last keynote session for this event. And some of you may have seen the title, right? The title is, Teach Like the World is on Fire. And so let's begin with that concept of fire. What it is, what it means, what educators need to understand about the concept, and how does that concept apply to the ways that we engage in our work when we return to schools to work with young people. So fire, by scientific definition, is quite simple. It's the oxidation of a material. It's an exothermic chemical reaction, so it's outward facing. It releases heat, it releases light, and a bunch of other products. And where we are in the world right now is a moment and place of fire. We have had some oxidation and some exothermic reactions. Whether you're talking about Jamaica, you're talking about the United States, you're talking about the UK, there are a number of things that are happening. In the US, we had the assault on George Floyd that resulted in the murder of George Floyd and the murder of Breonna Taylor. In the UK, we had the removal of statues of slaveholders. We had the same going on in the States. In Jamaica, we have folks for the very first time really saying it's ridiculous that we'll ban somebody from schools because of the hair that comes out of their head. In South Africa, there's been a reckoning around race where folks are saying this is our land and we want to be able to take back our land from those who've colonized our ways of knowing and being and thought. So across the globe, we're in a place of fire. And fire meaning that folks who've been historically marginalized are confronting those who've had power from the beginning of time and recognizing that the ways that things have been done before that makes us be the lowest in the whole equation, that make us be the ones that don't win, to make us in the fire be the ones that are the ashes that get burnt, are saying no longer are we going to sit with being the ones who are burnt by the fire of the system, but rather we're going to center ourselves. And as this whole goes on politically, and it goes on sociologically, and it goes on in many ways psychologically, because the collective psychological nature of folks of color has oftentimes been to be subservient, and now we're saying no more. And this spirit of no more, we have those of us who are educators. It's a fascinating thing about educators, right? Because educators have always been the ones not to be in the fire, but to witness the fire. The nature of education for far too many has been to be apolitical. I'm not for any party or the other. I'm just here to teach the babies the content. And as the world is on fire, educators have been able to witness from the perch of their comfort, of their classrooms, or hiding behind their profession and saying, I am just teaching, to identify that things are going on in the world. In the States, educators have said, oh my God, look at that man who killed that man out there in Minneapolis. In the UK, look at those folks who are protesting, ripping down those statues of those slave owners. And so we're sitting with comfort behind the title of teacher, witnessing the world being on fire. But the interesting thing about the world being on fire is that this fire that's going on in many ways is analogous to the concept of a virus that we're all also dealing with. And I want you to hold with me this idea of fire, then hold with me this idea of virus. If the world is on fire, the world is on fire because we've all dealing with various forms of viruses. The virus of state-sanctioned violence and racism is what is causing us to center ourselves again for the very first time as Black folks. And that virus has another virus sitting within it that was the coronavirus. But here's also what's interesting. Whether you're talking about coronavirus and the fire and brimstone it brought, whether you're talking about state-sanctioned violence and the fire and brimstone it's brought, there's one thing that they have in common, and that is that Black bodies are the ones who've been victimized. Those who are most susceptible to coronavirus are Black and brown bodies, globally or locally, wherever you are. So if the state-sanctioned violence and racism is a virus that Black folks are most impacted by, we have a coronavirus that Black folks are most affected by, and then you have teachers who are choosing to be apolitical when the world is on fire. We've got a problem. And I would say to teachers, as we witness what's going on in the world, we are suffering the most from the viruses that we are witnessing. Because in many ways, the virus of state-sanctioned violence and racism are in the collective psyche of teachers who are following a Eurocentric model of education that is simply about memorization and not about the accumulation of information that can lead you to liberation. I don't know if y'all got them rhymes, but there's some truth in that. And so where we are right now is teachers witnessing a virus and saying, those folks are so bad. Those folks are so bad. But the reason that we are identifying others as bad is because we as educators have the virus in us, but we are asymptomatic of the virus. This was interesting. See, coronavirus don't get passed around by only folks who are sick. It's passed around by the folks who are sick, can't identify that they're sick, just asymptomatic, and are pointing out all the folks who are doing bad everywhere else without recognizing that they're the ones who are passing that virus on. And so I make the argument that educators who are carrying on a colonial tradition of state-sanctioned violence and racism in a world that is on fire without recognizing the fire and recognizing that you are passing on that fire and burning out young folks is the problem. So right now, the first thing to address before you go teach children is to understand that I am complicit in the process of ensuring a replication of an age-old system that needs to be interrupted. Otherwise, I pass on the virus of state-sanctioned violence and bias on young people. Once you understand that, I want to bring you from the theoretical and from the metaphor and the analogies I've drawn out down to the practical. You see, when we talk about fires, there's some interesting things going on as well. You have to have an accelerant, then you have to have a fuel, and the fuel and the accelerant merge together to create the fire. And I make the argument that in the sort of like social psychological violence that's being imposed on young folks, the young folks are the susceptible body. They are the ones who stimulate the fire, meaning a broken young person becomes a fuel for a flame of inequity. So the question then becomes, if young folks are the fuel and teachers are the accelerant, how do we stop the fuel from matching with the accelerant in a ways that cause things to burn down? Well, the way that you interrupt that is by ensuring that no young person is broken. If no young person is susceptible to the violence of the structures of the systems that oppress us, then they will learn at the highest levels, and their attachment to you becomes something that is a fire for a good purpose, because fire can either burn things down or fire could be a light in the midst of darkness. You got to make a decision right now that if you are going to be accelerating fire, will you burn down age-old systems and light the way forward, or will you replicate things and burn everything down and all that's left is ashes, including the souls of young folks? So all of that process about the denial of the rights gets pushed forth and addressed. And in essence, what I'm trying to give you right now is I'm trying to give you the PPE that you must put on your classroom so that your classroom will not soak in violence. And when I talk about violence, it's not physical violence. Some of y'all are looking around confused. I know that right now. When we talk about violence, we're not talking about physical violence. We talk about psychological violence. We talk about social violence. We talk about emotional violence on young folks. The only way that you can eliminate the process of this violence, of this accelerant that will burn things down to the way you don't know it, is about a process of not rescue missions, but restitutions. Many educators come into the profession with the perception that their job is to rescue young folks. And any educator who goes into the classroom with the perception that young folks are to be saved by them is walking into that space, making the young folks a victim automatically. And if they're a victim automatically, they become able to ignite a flame for destruction. So what you want to do now is to take away the lens of rescue mission and put on the lens of restitution. So good teaching when the world is on fire is about restitution instead of rescue missions. Now, once you understand that part, we have to understand the basis of the concept of restitution. Restitution is a concept that talks about returning back. There can be no restitution unless there's a recognition that the person that you're paying restitution to held something to begin with. The world is on fire right now based on broken people, the perception of broken people. If people are whole, you can't burn them down. So first you gotta restore to young folks what's been missing, and now I'm gonna tell you what's been missing. Now what's been missing can never be identified through the lens and the framework of a system of oppression. What's been missing to give back to young folks will never be given to you by a colonial system of teaching and learning. Malcolm X said it best: if you send your child into an institution that is constructed and created by your enemy, even if your friend works within it, all they will function to do is break your children. So the way that we reimagine to not burn down for destruction, but burn for light, is a different type of framework. So I'm going to draw from actually a South Indian and both African and Afrocentric framework. Because if you go to South Indian tradition, let me make some clarifications before I go forward. I operate in this work from the space of being a Christian, but a Christian who believes in the concept of radical Christianity. Radical Christianity in the sense of not attaching myself to religion, but radical Christianity in the sense of understanding that to be radical is to go back to the root and essence of the concept. And the essence of a Christ-likeness is to have righteous indignation for the sake of transforming the situation. So my righteous indignation as a follower of Christ also allows me to be able to understand that folks outside of my tradition may have information that I can add to my view to be able to help me to transform it. Oh, y'all, okay. Let me give you another example. Currently in 2020, the discourse has been around improving education with a 2020 vision. This idea of a 2020 vision, when we think about it based on our perverse or not inaccurate perceptions of what it is to have be an optician, for example, you go to see an optician, a 2020 vision only allows you to be able to sit in a room in the dark and look into that dark room to see black letters on a white background 20 feet in front of you. So a lot of us think that we are doing good when we have a 2020 vision. We don't recognize that the optician put us in a closed, dark room, put something that's 20 feet in front of us, and so when you go in there with the optician's office and you look and you see everything, and they say, congratulations, you have 2020 vision, you are under the impression that you have good vision. But 2020 vision, scientifically, is simply the ability to be able to see up to 20 feet in front of you. So the optician says to you, congratulations, you have 2020 vision. Within a closed black room that they've constructed for you. But you can have 2020 vision, see those numbers accurately, but at 25 feet, can't see, and your diagnosis as having good vision actually is flawed. You can't be looking for 20, you can have 2020 vision and lack depth perception. You can have 2020 vision and lack color acuity. You can have 2020 vision and lack 360 vision. So when you go to an institution that is not shaped for you, that says you're doing well with 2020 vision, but you lack the 360 vision, you can go in a 2020 vision into a world of 360 and get beaten down to pieces because you didn't have the ability to see around you. This idea of looking about this concept of teaching in the world's on fire is about being able to have a 360 vision of all the things impacting teaching and learning to allow me not to be so focused on the 2020. So the 2020 is just, can the kids do math? So they learned math, but they're broken souls. They could be set on fire. I want us to be empowered human beings who have the 2020 vision and the 360. If you're only operating from 2020 and can't see 360, then you're imposing a virus on young folks to allow them not to be actualized. And it's because of that we need a restoration. So the restoration for me comes from almost a Buddhist, Afrocentric, Christian tradition merged to understand the rights of the body. What do I mean by this? In any spaces outside of Eurocentric traditions where human beings are broken, there's a recognition that if I restore rights to them, they become fully actualized. Meaning then, that as an educator, if I walk into a classroom with a 360 vision, my goal is not just learning content, my goal is to allow young folks to have all their rights fully actualized in the classroom. The goal of the teacher is to ensure that the classroom is a microcosm of the world that you imagine it to be, not the oppressive world that it is. If you're only teaching for the world as is, the fire will burn you down. If you're teaching for the world as it should be, we have a path forward. And to teach for it to be what it's supposed to be is the restoration of rights. And so now I identify to you the 7 rights of the body that must be given to young folks in order for them to be fully actualized. Y'all still with me or not? Well, if you're not, I'm gonna go anyway. The first essential right of the body is the right to be here. Simply the right to be here. For a human being to understand that in any social space that they enter, for a young person to understand that when they enter into a classroom, they have a right to be present in that classroom. And folks will say to me, well, what are you talking about, the right to be here? We invited them to the classroom every day. If the classroom feels like they're going on a visit to another world, if they feel like they have to ask permission to be welcome into that space, if the classroom don't feel like a community where I can be my authentic self, I am robbed of the fundamental right of the body, which is the right to be here. To let young folks who come from genius to understand that every place that their foot treads upon is a place that they can have dominion over. And that includes the classroom, that I enter into the classroom space with the right to be here. That this whole class is for me. This whole school is built for me. That means you can't tell young folks whether you learn or not. I get my check anyway, so, whatever. That means you can't tell young folks, this is my classroom, so you do as I say. This is my school, so you must follow the rules of this school. There's no space for a discourse. It's bending the arc of the instruction to the fact that the young folks have to feel as though this is my space. This is your classroom. This is your home. You have, by virtue of your existence, the right to be here. You want to teach somebody calculus and geography and engineering and mathematics, and you've not yet allowed them to understand that they have a right to be present. And if they don't understand they have a right to be present, they're a guest in their own home. Because the classroom must feel like home. And if I am a guest, I can't be comfortable. Imagine yourself going to visit somebody for the very first time. The first time you walk in, you don't quite feel at home. So you say, do I take my shoes off or not? Do I ask for something to drink? Can I go to the fridge and get something to drink? So your whole interaction with the person who you might like is uncomfortable because you don't feel like you have a right to be there because the place is not your own. So how then do you expect young folks to feel like they can learn in a classroom when you're not created the precondition to allow them to feel like home? Restitution over rescue mission. The right to be here, number 1. The second right is the right to feel. The right to have emotion. When we enter into classrooms where social emotional learning is at a piece of the discourse of how we engage, beyond the right to be here, now the right to feel. The right to feel is the right to be able to express emotion. We have young folks in classrooms who don't even have the language to express their emotion. If they're quiet and they're nice and they smile, we say good. If they are pensive, if they are frustrated, if they are hungry, if they are tired, if they're pensive, we don't have any language to describe those emotions. We're just turning to anger. So they're good or they're angry. You violated my instructions. Angry. Sometimes the kid is not angry. Sometimes the child is frustrated. Sometimes your instruction wasn't clear. Sometimes they need a meal. Sometimes they're tired. Sometimes they've had loss. The responsibility of the educator in a system of restitution over rescue missions is first to allow the young folks to feel like they have a right to be there, but second, to make them understand that they have the right to feel. How are you feeling this morning? And then write on the board, tired, frustrated, angry, joyous, and have them identify what emotion they're feeling. if young folks are denied the right to feel, you're also denying them the right to learn. But here's the thing. A lot of us cannot give young people the right to feel because we've been denied that right ourselves. Every single day you go into a school building where you're unhappy and you cannot express your dissatisfaction. You are doing the work of teaching, the work of the gods, the works of the ancestors, the most powerful job you can do on the face of the planet, but you still carry with you a dejection about what your role is as a teacher. And so you've been denied the right to express your emotion, and because you've been denied the right to express your emotion, you rob young folks of the right to do the same. You cannot set young folks free if you can allow them to feel. The right to be here, the right to feel. The third right, the right to act. By the right to act, we mean the right to be able to act upon the emotions that I hold. The colonization of the expression of self is the antithesis of the freedom to learning. The right to act is to say, I am tired, therefore I will act upon that now. Somebody's like, so you mean if the kid come and tell me he's tired, I could just let him sleep in my classroom? No, but you have to be able to allow the young folks to be able to express the emotion and say, you need to act on that, maybe act on it outside of the classroom. It's a recognition of the humanity of the individual, the colonization of my right to be and my right to perform, my right to be able to act, my right of expression, robs me of the ability to be able to learn, the right to be here, the right to feel, the right to act. The right to act upon the emotion, the right to be able to dance. When we talk about act, it's the performance. Listen, let me go somewhere, y'all. As Black folks, from a tradition of the griots and of dancers and creatives, part of our expression is to let go of the body and let the body speak for us. You know, right now, I'm in my home delivering a lecture. I could have technically sat down and gave this lecture, but I know that I could not carry the fervor I need to deliver my information if I don't give myself the right to act. So my laptop is propped up on a chair so I can allow my body to talk for me. And when you deny folks from a tradition of movement and dance and verb the right to act, you colonize their expression. And some of us have denied ourselves the right to act our entire life. You think you're an introvert. You're not an introvert. You've just been conditioned to not express your emotion more freely. You ever notice the people who do those heinous crimes are the ones who come from backgrounds where their rights to act have been denied the most? You say, oh, he was just so quiet his whole entire life. He just followed all the rules his entire life. He just did everything he was told because he had somebody in his life who taught him that to colonize the expression of self is to be appropriate. And then you got the accumulation of years of emotion, not able to be expressed through the words, through the hands, through the body, through the legs, that oftentimes then get expressed in heinous acts. Then you say, how could he do that? He was such a good boy. No, we're all good people, but you denied that person the right to act, to be able to let it all go and be free. So then you let them accumulate the negative emotions that get expressed in ways that are counter to their productivity. Sometimes when you see criminality on the streets, it's a function of the denial of the right to act in the classroom. Say, oh my gosh, look how they're acting so wildly in the dance hall. And like he just tossed that person upside down and backwards. That's because they're looking for an escape, because you never let them be free when they learn. Who told you that learning requires being passive? I learn the most when I'm free to act, the right to act. The next right, my favorite right, the right to love and be loved. It just reminds me of a Bob Marley lyric, you know, could you be loved? The right to love and be loved. We are now currently in a system of education where we have extracted out love and passion from the discipline of teaching. And that's why folks are being infected with violence from teachers, because you don't even know what love. I'm not talking about a perverse love. I'm not talking about a sexual love. I'm talking about a radical and agape love, the right to love and be loved. Do young folks have the right to love things other than you? And here's the thing. We must create spaces to allow young folks to love things that they love that might not make us comfortable. The work of the educator is to create the space for young folks to love and be loved, to bring what they love, and then be creative enough to allow what they love to be the anchor of the instruction. Listen, I've taught physics, I've taught chemistry on the most highest of levels and the most highest of institutions. And what I've found is I cannot teach that subject matter until I begin with what it is that the person that's in front of me that I'm to teach can share about their lives and what they love. They love music, they love art, they love their grandma, they love their mom, they love their neighborhood, they love their hair. And all those things are seemingly superficial. But if you love it, I love it. And we're gonna love that and love some physics and chemistry and English and social studies as well. And the denial of the right to love and be loved robs us of good teaching. And then I wanna return that back to you. Are you a lovable individual? Do you express the right to love and be loved? Do you, in the face of consternation and pushback, still express love? Do you understand what it means to exemplify and embody love? Do you give of yourself, your time, beyond the allotted time that you have to teach because you love your craft? If you have a love for your craft, a love for your students, and a love for the community that you come from, you have nothing. If you don't have a love for your craft, a love for yourself, and a love for the communities where the young people come from, there is nothing. I always tell folks, teaching without love is just talking. Teaching without passion is just talking. Are you just a talker? Are you a teacher? Are you exuding love? Are you being love? Are you embodying love? The right to love. Now the fifth right, y'all don't like a lot. You got the right to be here, the right to feel, the right to act, the right to love, the right to speak. When I look about the right to speak, it's not just the right to just wax poetic. It's the right to be able to speak truth to power. You got to restore to young people the right to be able to say what they need to say about the systems they're embedded in to folks who have power within the institution. Which meaning that teaching is, listen y'all, teaching is a political act. If a young person comes from a parish or from a community where they are being consistently marginalized, it is the responsibility of the educator in the classroom to teach the young folks to be able to research the phenomena that's impacting their lives and not just articulate that in the classroom, but speak truth to power. Call the press, write a letter to the minister, write a letter to the president, write a letter to the person who holds power. Teaching must be about learning something in the classroom so I can use it to make my conditions of my everyday living better. This idea of teaching for delayed gratification. I've taught you things, but don't speak. Wait till you get to university and then one day you can express it. This idea of denial and delaying of teaching. Teaching is not about denial. Teaching is not about delaying. Teaching is about the persistent and consistent accumulation of information with passion and love and the ability to speak truth to power. Let me tell you something. I've gone wherever I need to go on the face of this planet. And wherever I go to wherever I go, I say what I need to say, the way I need to say it, and how you receive it, that's on you. But I know that once it's been said and when it's been done, I have fulfilled my mission to operate with the right to be here, the right to feel, to act, love, speak, and also the right to, sixth right, see. Now the right to see is the right to have a different vision of the possibilities. I oftentimes talk about my Stevie Wonder-esque inner vision, the right to be able to look inwards, the right to be introspective about the part you have to play in the act of teaching and learning, the right to be able to have a different perspective than that of the power wielder, but most importantly, the right to see a different vision of the future and possibilities. Can you give young folks the right to be able to reimagine what your classroom looks like? The right to be able to see what their future is and then work with them to construct a path towards their goal. Now, the right to see is the right to see yourself, not the right to be seen the way other folks see you. Sometimes we give young folks the right to be seen the way that somebody else envisions them to be. Oh, you're good in science. You should be a scientist. What if that person was a scientist / artist and they saw themselves as an artist and then you denied the universe, the world, of the gift of the artist that had a scientific underpinning? When we don't have the right to see ourselves the way we need to be, then we become shells of ourselves. I personally had to go through that. Renee read all them degrees as an anthobiochemist who did mesenchymal stem cell research on the etiology of schizophrenia, and everybody has articulated for me this role and this vision of me as a scientist. But I was good in science, but my calling, oh y'all, what you're good at might not be your calling. Sometimes you gotta have the vision to allow what you're good at to merge with your calling so you can envision a new possibility for yourself. Some of you right now are teachers and you just see yourself as just a teacher, because you have no vision of the fact that you're not just a teacher, but you're a teacher, leader, aspiring principal, speaker, blogger, global known individual, but you've robbed yourself, you've denied yourself the right to see. And because you only see yourself in a small way, you let young folks only see themselves in a small way. Y'all, I had to do the personal work to say, although I am good at this, although this earns me money, my calling is outside of this. And if I pursue my calling to merge with what I'm good at, I can see a different lifestyle, a different worldview, a different possibility for myself and all those who I love and who love me. And then the seventh right of the body, the right to know. This is the right to knowledge. This is the right to information. This is the right to content. A lot of educators, in the pursuing of making young folks comfortable, will lower the expectations and perceive that to be an act of love. But I have a right to know. Young people must always be challenged academically, introduced to more rigorous material, introduced to subject matter beyond their years, because they have a right to know. The denial of a young person of the academic content that they need to be a fully actualized human being is a denial of the right of the body. So I give them the right to be here, the right to feel, the right to act, the right to love, the right to speak, the right to see, but I cannot do that and deny them the right to know. And if you operate in your classroom, utilizing these 7 principles as the anchor of your pedagogy, how is this lesson plan either giving or robbing young folks of the right to be here? How is this curriculum either giving or robbing young people of the right to speak? Are they silent the whole period? Then I can't do that. I have to reevaluate my lesson plan because they need the right to speak. How is this instruction giving them a right to act? Does the body get to move during this lesson? If I've robbed them of the right to act, I don't have a full lesson. Right to feel. Do I ask the young folks, how are you feeling about the new political party and the dance hall tunes they're using to be able to promote their work, despite the fact that they may not have a legitimate political standing to sit upon, but are trying to wax poetic and lull you to sleep with your culture only when it serves them to get in office, but a denying of your culture when it comes to supporting that culture the rest of the time after they get in office. I'm sorry, I'm speaking like I know too much about somebody's political situation. But the denial of any of those rights in your lesson means you don't have a full lesson. And you know, my time is almost up, but I want to also talk about a couple of emotions that are what inhibits us from giving the young people the rights of the body that they need to be actualized. And these 7 emotions are fear, guilt, shame, grief, lies, illusion, and attachment. There is no space for fear in teaching when the world is on fire. If the world were not on fire, maybe you could, operate like normal. When the world is on fire, you ain't got no choice but to operate with a jerking off of fear. Are you going to do something or say something that somebody's going to be angry at? If I teach too loudly, will people be upset at me? Will I lose my job? Will I lose my life? Will I lose my opportunity? Listen, if you are utilizing fear to inhibit you from walking into your potential as an educator, you cannot be an educator. So consistently ask yourself, am I operating from fear? If I am operating from fear, what is my plan of action to not allow fear to guide me forward? Am I operating from guilt? Do I feel as though I am guilty for the privileges I'm afforded that my students don't have? And because of that, I want to overcompensate because I feel guilty and lower the academic expectations. Do I have guilt because of the privileges I've been afforded? Do I have guilt because of the degree I hold? Do I have guilt because of something I've done wrong in my past that I need to let go so I can be free enough to teach? Free yourself of guilt, because if you don't free yourself of guilt, you cannot have the rights for yourselves or give those rights to young people. The next one, shame. You must eliminate in your classroom shame. Young people come into the classroom and they're ashamed because they they don't have the right uniform, or they're ashamed because their sneakers are dirty, or they're ashamed because what their home looks like, or they're ashamed because of something in their life or past or their lineage that causes them not to want to reveal their authentic selves. The educator must model to the student that there's no space for shame in learning. Sometimes that means that you must reveal the things that you are ashamed of as you pursue this work. You know, I tried to pass a test to be a teacher, and I failed it the first time. And here I am right now teaching you, let's learn together. And they'll say, what, how? Don't be ashamed of your missteps. When you articulate your missteps publicly and vocally to your students, they see you as human. And if you can show them that you overcame that shame, say that again, you overcame the shame to be who you are right now, you model to them that their circumstances and their experiences don't inhibit them to have a vision of themselves to be bigger and greater. 4, grief. Sadness and loss will power you down. You cannot operate with grief. The 5th one, perhaps the most important one, lies. Some folks lie to others and lie to themselves. Don't lie to children. If you don't know the content, say you don't know. Let's discover it together. If you don't have a degree that you claim you have, tell the truth. I ain't got it. We working on it together. You know, the inability to tell the truth, it's like an anchor on your, it's like an anchor on your ankle in the middle of the ocean. Operate from a place of radical truth. Lies only distort the rights of the body. 6th, illusion, which is, you know, operating in a thing that you know is not real and it's not true. You know, you tell the young folks, you know, if you do all these things, you'll be able to be successful in life. And you know for a fact that's still subjective. The whole system of education is oftentimes predicated on the idea, if you only get this high score on this exam, you do well on this GSC, then you're set up. And we know half the people who do well on those exams have an awful life. Don't attach yourself to illusion. And the 7th, attachment. And attachment is letting yourself be so clinging to something that you know is false that you will lie to support it. There's no need to attachment to falsehood. So in closing, you must teach like the world is on fire. You must understand that you are enacting violence on young people when you rob them of their rights of the body. You must understand that that virus is in you. I've got it, Renee's got it, Wayne's got it, Margaret's got it. All of us collectively are asymptomatic for this virus. And because we are asymptomatic for this virus, we must be intentional about putting on our PPE, which is the rights of the body that we give to ourselves and for young people to stop from passing it around, to stop this thing from burning all the way down, for turning this fight into a light to go forward. If you're silent about your pain, Zora Neale Hurston, if you are silent about your pain, if you're silent about the fear and the guilt and the shame and the grief, the lies, the illusion, the attachment, the fact you don't feel like you have the right to be here, that you don't have the right to act, to love. If you're silent and inarticulate and not clear about who you are, what you are, and beyond who you are, whose you are, what divine connection you have that brings you to teach. If you are silent about that, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it. Meaning you will live a life that killed your soul, killed your joy, killed your spirit. And in your obituary, they'll say, oh, he liked that. That's the kind of life you wanted to live. I pray for you not to live a legacy that does not allow you to walk in your full destiny. But most importantly, I pray for you that you restore to young folks the rights that they've lost so they can take this fire and turn it into a light to transform our world beyond what we have right now. Thank you guys so much.
Oh my God. Woo! Yes. Kalando, come on here because I can't speak. Listen, okay, so Chris, this work is real stuff, right?
Somebody just showed some fire.
It's real stuff, Chris Emden. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing that with us because the world is on fire and we have to be too. It's not a rescue mission. It's a restitution mission. Ooh. Chris, say something.
Oh man, look, Ren, you know why I love you so much
Ooh.
is because you understand the work that we have to do. And you know, I tell people all the time, if the ones who are working with the children do not have the bravery to reimagine our future, all we will have is a replication of the same dysfunction. You know, there's no reason why in 2020, what we're doing looks like what we did in 1980 and 1970 and 1960 and 1950. There's no reason. And the only reason why it is the way that it is because we have not yet set this thing on fire.
Yep.
We've not yet allowed teachers to understand the world does not change without you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what a politician says. It doesn't matter what a singer says. It doesn't matter what an artist says. The world is transformed by what our educators do. And the reason why they dismiss our educators is because they know it. When people say, oh, it's just the teachers, it's just the teachers, oh, just the reason why they consistently deny the power of the educator is that they understand that if the educator understood their power, they can transform society.
Indeed.
And so we must reclaim it, sis. We must remix, we must reimagine.
We need to give our children their rights back.
Yes,
Right
indeed.
to, the right to
I'm
feel,
gonna
the
read
right
some
to
of
act.
the I'm gonna read some of the comments. So
Okay.
Margaret says, powerful and engaging presentation delivered with an authentic passion for using education as an agent for transformation. Well done, Chris. I endorse that, Mark. This presentation was fantastic. Great stuff, Chris. This is what you call save the best for last. Oh boy, to God be the glory, great things he has done. Explosion. Janet Walters says that one. Love this. We need to make
about some of these comments, Kalando, that what people are saying is, I've taken it in, I'm on fire, but I want to change. I'm reflecting on me.
Yes.
You know, I don't think at any point of the journey we can be comfortable about how we do what we do, because we recognize that the fire continues to blaze, and that little pail of water that we were using to put it out before is not going to be sufficient.
To do it, right? This blaze. Okay, so Carrie Ann says she's inspired, she's renewed, she has growth in her mind, the growth mindset increase. This is just a great food for the soul, insightful. I keep thinking to myself though, Chris, what goes on when we don't see you? Because I feel like every time I see you and you deliver one of these messages, it's like you've just reinvented everything else that I understand about the work that you do, and just kind of put us on a completely different path. I mean, it never ceases to be inspiring and like be appropriate. I don't know what goes on. How do you keep at it?
You know, first of all, thank you for those kind words. And you know, I love you, man. You're one of my favorite folks. When I come to Jamaica, I'm like, I've got to see Kalando at least once, so I can make sure that my time is well spent. But you know, brother, I think it's recognizing that we're not there yet, and also recognizing that there's so many different frameworks. I mean, sometimes I talk about the 7 C's of reality pedagogy. Then you realize the 7 rights of the body. Then you realize the 7 emotions that have been denied. Then there are also these 7 principles of delivery of pedagogy. And so it's like a bottomless well of information that I'm just so on fire to give to educators, just because I revere teachers. I understand what they are, who they are in this planet. And so, you know, when I see teachers denied of what they need to rejuvenate the spirit, that inspires me. And you know, and I study it. You know, this is my life. You know, I've recognized that my life and calling is to be able to move to transform education. And so I'm always driven by that. But thank you for the kind words, brother.
Thank you, Kalando and Chris. I want to, nothing more to say about Chris, because yeah.
Or otherwise we could be here for the rest of the evening.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is our final session, and it is a fitting end to 2 days of what we promised you: ideation, innovation, and just deep reflecting on ourselves and the way we do things, and wanting to make an impact and transform education. We have some of the most beautiful children and the most resilient children in this country and throughout the region and in them, wherever they are. I mean, and so I think that we owe it to them to give them the kind of world that, we, as Chris says, to create a classroom that's a microcosm of the world that we want to see and not the one that we have. And so I urge you all, wherever you are planted in every corner of this beautiful little country, do not leave here the way you came in. I am not leaving here the way I came in this morning. And I don't think any of us is. Do not leave here the way you came in yesterday or today, whenever you join this discussion. You have to, there is an urgency. And I think Chris brought that home today. It is not something that we can continue to play with. Every day we see that we're in a war. And when we keep saying join the revolution, it's because it is a war. It is a fight. We need our PPEs. Just like how you see the corona getting worse in other places and you see it now being turned up in Jamaica. That's the kind of war we're in for our children. It's just constantly shifting and changing. And so we have to put ourselves in the place where we can spot it, and then where we can be, where we're fired up. And you see, Chris spoke about righteous indignation. We must get mad. Like, we should not be okay with the way things are. And however it is that you support this process and this work, you just take your place. We all have to do that. We created this space so that we could reimagine and reconnect and rethink. And I want to thank all of the people who are involved in doing this. Nobody has been given any money to come and spend their hour and a half to do this. We're not making a profit from doing this at all. We recognize that the mission is great and the mission is ours, and that we want as many people as possible to catch this fire and to be part of the healing and the journey and the restitution that we all need going forward. So all the speakers have been fantastic from yesterday. Kalando, help me to remember.
Yeah, well, we started on a high with the was it Nicole and Marvin? Oh no, that was
Marvin and that panel that spoke to the future of education, future-proofing education. And then we have the one on culture with Colleen and Eli Banks, Michael, Sean Harris, Dahlia, the teacherpreneurs with the boss teacher, Julia, and all of that information that they gave you. And then Rochelle Cameron, who started us off this morning, our Chief Education Officer, Kassan Troop, who is always amazing, and then our special ed group. They were great. Some of you didn't get to see them, but they were awesome. I want to thank them, Dr. Alison Cross, Dr. Michelle Meredith, and the early childhood team. I want to tell you that the session, and we're going to be sending you these recordings, but the session that was like crazy, Chris's session was good, but I know he'll allow me to say this. You see that session with the students that went on after you guys left and came over to Margaret's session and get techie with it, was on fire, right? I can't wait to go and watch it in its entirety tonight, because I wasn't able to stay in for the entire time. The students didn't want to leave. Empress had to stay longer because they had so much to tell us about how they want to learn. And I think there's one thing we can do when we start, is to find out how they want to learn, right? And make a commitment that there's no conversation, nothing we will do that will not include them, because it's about them. So yeah, so I mean, moving forward to Margaret and her modeling of what good leadership and good teaching, and that convergence of being able to introduce technology and then lead technology and then lead pedagogy and lead people, is just an amazing gift. And I want to thank you. Have I left anybody out? Oh, the board session with all of those, Peter Melhedo, Omar Oliphant, Mr. Bradley Reed, veteran educator, Wayne Robinson, who led that so well, and Stefan Wright. All of you gentlemen added so much to it. There's a panel on teaching for the culture, which Chris would have absolutely loved, with Nicole Grimes and Shauna Brown, and my sister-in-law in love, Keisha Rattray, and who I'm so proud of, by the way, and also who was in that session, Dr. Saran Stewart. Oh my Lord. And then the session on humanizing online teaching with Mary Regoza, Amina Norris, and Reina Leon. All fantastic. I mean, it was a full, rich few days of sessions. The Jamaica Teaching Council has endorsed this, and therefore you will be able to use this as credit for your professional development. Davian Leslie is going to tell me exactly what that looks like, and maybe some principals on here can share how that actually manifests itself. But we're going to do that. And then also, I wanted to tell you that we're sending you an evaluation form that you will receive immediately, or maybe you've gotten it already. It was probably sent to your email. So I'd like you to please take the time to complete, give us feedback. This is not going to be the end of this kind of work, because we have to keep our feet on the pedal. We can't lift it. We can't get complacent because there's so much for us to do. So we will be doing more of this, and I would like you to be there when we do, and do these things in your small spaces, because you know it needs to be happening everywhere. We need these teach good, lead good clubs all over the schools in Jamaica.
So Renee, I have to say, because I know you won't say it. Well, obviously, I mean, and it's not your style, so you wouldn't say it. But I need to thank you, because thank you for this, for not letting it leave your stomach, like that fire that you had, that we must do this. And when you started to get concerned about whether we have enough time and when we're going to promote it, and I'm saying, Renee, there are too many things. It's too many things to put into the day, but you found a way to make it all. I mean, I look at it today and say, oh God, Renee found a way to put everything to provide the community with as much as they possibly could get just before we go back to school. And even as we're talking about that, you know, here in Jamaica, the when we go back to school is still up in the air. But today happened. You did it.
Thank you.
You did it. It was a lot of work, and I know you need to get some rest now, because you haven't had any rest in a while to be able to pull this off. And I think, you know, it's very encouraging to me, because this is work I believe in. And I'm very happy, as I said, to partner with you whenever you're doing these things, and sort of own it myself to be a part of it. But you know what's happening? What I can see with the 186 people still on this call after such an amazing 2 days and giving up so much of their time, clearly we have an engaged community that's ready for the change. So well done on you.
It's exciting. So Science Genius, we're going to be kind of bringing it to a close. We had a really good run. So Chris and I will be on live on Instagram on Friday with the students who have won. And those of you who don't know about it, you can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, Science Genius Jamaica. And we have students. The first place winner was from Titchfield High, one Titch, Jamila, with her awesome rhythm. And then second place was from Monroe College. Mark Smith is on here. So Principal Mark Smith, he'll be very happy. And then third place was from Mayday High School. So we're going to be doing an IG Live. Follow us on our social media platforms at Science Genius Jamaica, but also at Teach Good, Lead Good. And send us all these amazing things that you're doing, videos that you're doing for going back to school, you know, for your online work. Send it. That's one of the things that we've done with Teach Good, is to create a space where we can share good practice. And so please, we will post those videos and circulate them all over if you do that. And I want to again say, walk good, everybody.
I have to say thank you to you have to say thank you to Shango and team that's dealing with all the tech, and Judith.
Yes, let me do that. We have an amazing team, Verb Communications, of which Calando is the CEO. He is the one who makes sure that everything runs smoothly and that communication is turned, and you would have received really good communication during this period. And then our tech team with Shango, UBQT Studios, have just been amazing. So I want to say thank you.
Lenny for all of our graphics.
Is Lenny Wallace, and he does an amazing job at catching your attention because it got you here. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has been a part of this, just the supporters who just sent me a message to say, Renee, this is great. Thank you for this. Let's do it. All these messages are really, really well appreciated. So please be safe, everybody. Protect yourselves, wear your masks. And we have a lot of stuff to do, so we have to stay safe and we have to be around for a long time. So from me,
thank you all for coming.
Yolanda, thank you very much. Take care. Fill out the evaluation.
We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready for the road. We're ready for the road. So we're ready.